All right, ladies and gentlemen, get up off your seats, and give it up for the owner, CSO of Fusion Power. He's been in the solar industry for 10 years, and he's an official sponsor of SolarCon. Give a SolarCon welcome to Mr. Jared Gillespie.
Yeah, look, they said that I couldn't do it, so I went and did it. W's only, you know I've been winning. Top of the world, the globe is spinning. If you know, you know I've been on a mission. Go. Okay, let's get it. Got a little time on my hands like a wristwatch. I don't got time for the brakes and the pit stop. Race through the gridlock, take it like Chris Rock. Right to the chin, still win. Heavy metals like Slipknot. Got the driving, I got tunnel vision. I just hit my stride the way I run the business. I've been making paper like I'm Dunder Mifflin. See the end game, I got one.
How we doing, everybody? Hey, can we give it up for Sam? Was that not awesome? Gosh, that guy is awesome. Also want to thank the SolarCon team. What an incredible event this is. How many of you guys have got value out of this event? This has been absolutely fantastic. I'm so proud to be here with Fusion Power to sponsor this event. Hopefully everybody goes home with something amazing that they can take from SolarCon this year. I'm excited to present to you today. My intention is to share some things that I think, if applied, can really change some of the ways that you think about things and some of the ways that you live your life. And hopefully that will reflect into your business and be able to accelerate you to the next level. If I can have a request, if I can have attention, focus, put your hearts in this, you'll get out of it what you put into it. So I hope that everybody can be with me while we're up here today. In 1848, gold was discovered in the western United States. And quickly, word spread that if you went to the San Francisco Bay Area, you would be able to find gold nuggets the size of chicken eggs. Can I get the slide deck going, guys? Maybe my clicker's dead. But what happened is the word spread across the American frontier that you could go to California and you could mine for gold and gain a fortune. And word quickly spread all the way to the East Coast, and people began to sell everything that they had to buy wagons and teams so that they could make their trek across the American frontier and be able to, seek their fortune in the West. Now, most people had never made that journey, right? It's not like today where you can fly 6 hours and get across the United States. You sold everything that you had, and you had to make this long, months after months journey to get there. And in order to do it safely, it was necessary that you hired a teamster, somebody that had made that journey many times. Somebody that knew where to go, where to find water, where to find food, what areas to avoid, where to winter, to make sure that you could get there across the country in a safe way. Now, if you didn't, can we go to the next slide, guys? If you didn't have a good teamster, if you did not hitch your wagon to the right team, you might end up getting stuck in the American frontier and get caught on that prairie where many people died along the way. So it was important that you had a good team that you could attach your wagon to, otherwise you may not make it. For those people that did make it, they had an incredible opportunity. This one's not working either, guys. Oh, there we go. To go mine for gold. And many people were able to amass large fortunes in the western United States. Now, why do we talk about that? Right now, we are in the gold rush here in the solar business. We talked about this yesterday. There's been a lot of people that have made a lot of money over the last several years in solar. And now we have the opportunity where we have incredible tailwinds and momentum to be able to take advantage of this, where we're going from the early adoption stage of having tens of thousands of accounts a year to hundreds of thousands of accounts a year. And like Hayes talked about yesterday, we're going to be installing literally millions of accounts every single year moving forward. And so for those people that are attached, have their wagons attached to the right team, and make that journey across the frontier to the gold rush, there is a huge opportunity to gain major market share and to completely change our lives the way that it did for them back then. However, the key is being hitched to the right team. Now, I want to ask this. I know Sam just asked this, but I couldn't see it because I was sitting down here. How many of you guys are in your first year in solar? Raise your hand. Okay, how many of people have been doing it for 3 years or more? Okay, anyway, 5 years? Couple? Has anybody hit 10 years? All right, so I'm going in my 10th year in the solar space. Before that, I did alarms for 9 years. And when I got into that space, I was actually recruited by Todd Peterson. Raise your hand if you know Todd. I think most of us can probably trace our door-to-door lineage back to Todd in one way or another. Todd Peterson is the founder of Vivint. And there's tens of thousands of people that have spawned off of what Todd was able to create all those years ago. But I was not the easiest recruit. I had signed up with another company, and I had built a team. I was ready to go out for the summer, and I had a buddy that said, hey, you need to come talk to this guy, Todd. He's super cool. He's a super cool bro, and he's got a cool company. So I agreed to go meet with him. And as I sat down with Todd, he said, Jared, what are your goals this summer? I said, well, I want to sell 100 accounts during the summer. And back then, doing 100 accounts in a summer was pretty awesome. It was pretty respectable. He said, okay, cool. That's good. You'll make a lot of money. I think that you can do it if you work hard. But let me ask you a question. The team that you're with right now, how many people sold 100 accounts last year? I said, there was about 19 of them. He said, cool. Well, we went out with the same number of reps last year, and we had 112 people sell 100 accounts over the summer. So let me ask you something. Are our reps 5 times as good as their reps? And I said, well, no, we're all recruiting out of Provo, Utah. It's all the same guys. He said, exactly. I want you to hear me that we sell more because we invest an insane amount of time, energy, and money into developing programs and systems that give you a sales platform that's going to allow you to sell more at a higher volume with higher pull-through and make more money. Jared, if you're going to go out there for the summer and invest 4 months of your life, and hopefully we get you back summer after summer after summer, you need to make sure that you're playing the highest probability, playing the highest odds that you're going to have success. Hitch your wagon to the right team. So I ended up signing up with Todd and spent 9 summers with him and had an incredible experience. And I'm glad that I did, because 2 summers later, the company that I was going to go out with, over 1,000 reps came home that summer without a back-end check. They had hitched their wagons to the wrong team, and a lot of people died on the prairie, so to speak. So it's a tough situation. To drive that point home, how many of you guys are door knockers out here? Love the door knockers. Love the door knockers. You guys are the fuel to our industry. It's hard work. It requires grind and consistency and determination. Utmost respect for you guys. When we go door to door, and by the way, door to door is such a it's such an ironic term, because if you've been knocking for more than 6 months, you know that going door to door is the most ineffective way to do this job, right? Quick area management training, if you haven't done this, you don't start at one end of the street and go to the other. Where do we start? We talk to people that already have solar. We find out their names, how long they've had it, why did they get it, how much money are they saving, what they like, what they don't like. We use all of that information, and now we talk to their neighbors. Why do we talk to their neighbors? Because their neighbors have seen it. They probably talk to their neighbors who have it. They are the most likely buyers, right? We're playing our best odds, and we're looking for the best opportunity to make those sales. So we're hitching our wagon to the right team, going with the highest probability of success. Now, when I recruit, and I talk to a lot of people, I'll have from time to time, a rep or a new sales group will sit down. The first question they ask is, what's your red line? Right? What kind of red lines do you give? What kind of comp plans do you give? And I'll say, hey, that's a great question. We'll get to that. But you ought to be asking me about 6 questions before we get there. Number 1, you need to ask me, what's my capacity? Can I even fulfill for you? Number 2, what's my speed to install? The last thing you want to do is sell an account and wait 6 weeks or 6 months to have it get installed and have a huge cancellation rate. Then you need to ask me, what's my PTO time? The last thing you want to be doing is spending half of your commission paying customers' bills because it's been installed, but it's not getting turned on and everybody's upset. You need to ask me about, what are my products that I have to sell, right? If the company that you're with right now has one lending product and the customer doesn't pass credit, or there's a debt to income issue and you have to walk away from that deal, that's a bad thing. Do I have multiple lender products? Do I have lease and PPA products for people that don't have taxable income? Right? We're going to talk about the threats to the industry, and that being one of them, but that's something that you need to be looking into. What does my customer communication look like? After you sell a job, how does my customer know where they're at in the process? One of the worst phone calls that you guys get is when a customer calls up and says, yo, I haven't heard from you guys in 6 weeks, just go ahead and cancel that thing. How many people have had that happen? No fun, right? And so we want to make sure that the company is reaching out to customers and letting them know what's going on. And then the other side of that coin, what's the communication with the reps? How much time does a rep need to spend digging through and going back and forth with account managers to find out what's going on with their accounts, when they should be focused on what? Training, recruiting, sales. They should be doing what they're good at, not this admin stuff. So if I've answered those questions well enough for you, now let's start talking about red lines. And if I offer you a bottom of the barrel red line, and I want you to hear me when I say this, if you get basement pricing, you're going to get basement value. Now, why is that true? Because the most successful man in the door-to-door space ever, Todd Peterson, told me that it takes what? Time, energy, and money to create those platforms that's going to give you the value that allows you to sell more and allows you to make more. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't get yourselves a good deal, right? Get yourselves a good deal. But if somebody's willing to give you low pricing, the only way they can do that is if they're not spending money on anything else to give you value, because it does cost a lot of money. It costs money to have a well-stocked warehouse. It costs money to have lots of awesome account managers that work with you and your teams and your customers, right? There's all sorts of expenses, and if people are not spending money on that stuff, the only thing they're offering you is a number on paper, and it's not going to translate for you. Okay, fair enough? Now, when you are, as a sales group, and you're working with your EPC, okay, thank you guys, yes. This needs to be a partnership, okay? Yes, you guys need to be making money, but you need your installer to make money, because what happens when they don't? They go out of business, just like Sam talked about. He gave all those examples of groups that could not pay their reps because they ran out of money. You want your installer to have success. They need to have margins so that they can buy the next load of equipment for you guys to go sell. So don't price gouge them. Again, a good, fair deal, and you guys work as a team to make it happen, okay? Now, at the end of each third quarter, our executive team will do a 2-day summit off-site where we start planning out our year for the next year. And we'll take a look at how we've done this year, how are we lining up with our objectives for the year, how are we doing measuring up against our goals, what are we doing well, what do we need to improve on. And then the next day, we go and we start making our business plan for the next year. And we're going to be talking about the foundations of a business plan. Number one, starting with hitching your team to the right wagon, your wagon to the right team. And what we do in that summit is we will go over a SWOT analysis. Anybody ever heard of a SWOT analysis before? Basically, what we're talking about is we're looking at our company and industry strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Essentially, we're looking at the assets and the liabilities that we have in front of us that are going to help us and hinder us from achieving our goals. And once we've gone through that list and we've written up all over the board and we're whiteboarding, we're circling the ones that are the most significant, the ones that we're going to focus on that are going to help us and hurt us in getting up to where we want to go. Once we've done that exercise, now we can come out with a full business plan where we're going to say, this is how many megawatts I want to get installed this year. If I want this many megawatts, here's how many sales reps I need to produce this many sales, this many gross bookings. This is how many crews I need. This is how many trucks I need. This is how much inventory I need. This is how much cash on hand I need to have, right? And we can go all the way down a 52-week plan that we can follow like a recipe. Do we have any cooks out there? Any of you guys make cookies? If you follow a recipe, you can usually get a pretty good plate of cookies. If you don't, and you're just chucking in eggs, butter, sugar, and chocolate chips, it might not turn out well. But if you have that recipe that you can follow week by week by week, it's almost impossible to fail. You're giving yourself the perfect road plan. And so we will go through and make that business plan. Today I want to talk about making a business plan with you, and as part of that, doing a SWOT analysis for our industry. Now, you've heard from a lot of awesome speakers, and a lot of this stuff has been mentioned, but I want to recap some of these highlights that I think are super significant that we need to be aware of, okay? Now, the first one is we look at our strengths in the solar industry. We talked about having the momentum and the tailwinds that are with us right now, right? The government, the ITC has been extended. Customers have the ability to get tax credits. We have an incredible product offering. We also have incredible momentum that's behind us. When you look at the SEIA report, you can see that year over year, solar has continued to grow. 20% year over year nationwide. Some states and some of the markets that you guys are in have doubled and tripled over the last couple years. And you can see where it's projected to go over the next little while as well. This industry is going to continue to boom. So we have a lot of momentum in that regard. We also have an incredible product that we sell. How many of you guys like selling solar? It's amazing, right? At Fusion Power, when we talk about making sales, we refer to it as helping families. There's not a lot of products that you can sell out there and give them the same thing they already have, meaning electricity, but now give it to them in a cleaner, better, more sustainable way at a lower price that gives them tax credits, that allows them to use more power at a cheaper price and improve their lifestyles than solar. It's an incredible product that we have to offer, and at the same time, make an incredible amount of income doing it. It is an amazing strength that we have. Now, and there's others we could talk about, but I'm going to move forward. Let's talk about weaknesses. There's several I'm sure that we could mention, but the one that I want to bring up here that is so important is lack of training. And that's largely to the fast growth that we've had in this industry. A lot of you guys were probably trained by another new rep, who was trained by another new rep, who was trained by another new rep. And what happens when we have new reps training new reps? Unfortunately, the information that's given to our customers is not always quite accurate, is it? And that's where we have these examples that Sam just talked about of somebody being told that a 50% offset is somehow going to give them a $0 utility bill, or that a 9 kilowatt hour battery is somehow going to run their air conditioner in the middle of the summer. Or that poor little old lady that's on fixed income is going to get a $30,000 check from the government who doesn't even have taxable income. And so when we have enough of those kind of problems come through, what happens? It turns into a threat. We end up having unhappy customers. We have negative online reviews. And by the way, studies have shown that every negative review that you get is going to result in the loss of 10 other customers. It poisons the well for everyone. And when those complaints get to the Attorney General and they get to the utility companies, what happens? We start having further regulation. If you want to sell solar in California, your customers have to sign a 30-page document saying that they've received 5 other bids to make sure that they're not getting price gouged because of all the bad players. If we don't regulate ourselves, somebody else will. And those regulations make it more difficult for us to do our jobs. We have to get certified, we have to pay more money for licensing and all those other things that'll come down the chute if we don't regulate ourselves. And that's going to be a major threat, is that we are not going to be able to do the work the way that we want to do it. Now, if you're in this industry because you heard that you can make a whole bunch of money and you don't really care about helping the customer and you don't really care about your EPC partner or your sales team and you just want to get a bunch of money, I politely ask you to leave the industry and leave it for the rest of us. Leave it for the rest of us that truly care about helping families, because that's what this should be about. That's what this should be about, is helping families to be able to improve their lives. And so I'm calling on everybody in this room to up our training. We have an incredible opportunity here. Out there on that floor, you've got, I don't know how many groups, 3 or 4 groups. If your company, or if you're a sales group and you don't have good training, if you're part of a company that doesn't have good training, number one, your wagon's already hitched to the wrong team. If you're part of a sales organization that doesn't offer good training, go sign up with Pessy's or Sam's or Jake's online training courses. Those things are phenomenal. You just saw the evidence that Sam said. Going from 6 sales a month to 24 sales a month, for any reason at all, just do that to improve your volume outside of this whole compliance stuff that we're talking about here. But we need to improve our training. If you don't have it, sign up for it. If you need it, go talk to your EPC partner. Installers are the ones that end up taking the brunt of all these complaints. They will be more than happy to teach you how a certain solar configuration is going to offset someone's bill. They will be happy to teach you about how battery storage works, okay? Looks like I lost my slides here. There we go. So our opportunity is to improve our training. If you're not going to do that, you're the guy with the stick of dynamite in that mine while we're all in there mining for gold, and you're just chucking in that stick of dynamite trying to get your own. It's going to destroy it for the rest of us. So please don't do that. Another threat that we have in our industry right now that was talked about quite a bit yesterday as well is the raising prices of interest, right? As money becomes more and more expensive to get, it makes it more difficult for our lending partners to give us good competitive products. Some of our lending partners have already priced themselves out of the market. You guys don't use them anymore because they're too expensive. And so our opportunity with this is we are going to have to adapt to selling solar in a different way. If you sell on upfront savings, you're going to end up getting left behind because it's harder and harder to show those savings with the dealer fee and interest rates going up. You need to be able to learn how to sell PPAs and leases. You need to be able to sell on all the other benefits of going solar with tax credits and a better way of getting energy, a sustainable way, energy independence. All of those things are going to be something that you're going to need to be able to pitch. The biggest threat, though, that I want to talk about, and this is the most important one, is what I call moral decay. This is going to be the result of the amazing product that we have and the amount of money that we can make in our industry. Sam called out a lot of us in here saying that we're making too much money doing this job. That is a strength, but it can also be a weakness because the base man or the base woman in each one of us can get greedy very easily. And when we're in that sale and we're desperate for that sale because we want to chalk up a number on the board at Monday morning's correlation meeting, or we want to make that huge monstrous commission, we can be tempted to maybe just tweak something in that pitch, right? Maybe leave something out, or maybe blatantly lie to get that huge commission. But losing our integrity is not worth it. There's a scripture that says, he who's gained the world yet loses his soul. Paraphrasing, what's the point of gaining the world if you're going to lose your soul? There's just some things that are not worth it. And we need to be aware of it, because when there's this much money involved, it can be a temptation for anybody on the sales side of the business. So what's our opportunity there? Opportunity is to commit to values. And if you've slipped, to recommit to those values. And there's a lot of values that you can choose from, right? There are a million things that you can choose from out there. Maybe. Hard work, integrity, consistency, honesty, forgiveness. There's a lot of things that we can commit our lives to. What I want to make an invitation is take a look at the things that you value, the traits of the people around you, that if you could duplicate them, you could make a team that would overtake the world. And once you've come up with those core values that mean the most to you, that you think would really have an impact, whittle those down into 3 to 5 core values that are going to be able to dictate every decision that you live your life by. We did this at Fusion a few years ago, and it's completely changed the way that we run our business, and for me, the way that I make my own personal decisions. Do my decisions align with these values that I have committed myself to? When I was at Solar City, we had a leadership seminar with Hayes. By the way, how many of you guys were here for Hayes Barnard's thing yesterday? Was that not amazing? That guy's vision is incredible. I used to love going to all those leadership trainings because we get to hear him every time. It was awesome. At one of these, he said, hey, you guys, I want you to write down, why is it that you're selling solar? What is it that motivates you? Why do you value selling solar? And everybody wrote it down. And he said, okay, I want everybody to raise your hand. What was the reason? What did you guys put? If it was earning money and accumulating wealth, raise your hand. And pretty much everybody in the room raised their hand. And he says, okay, that's great. You're probably going to make a lot of money. But let me tell you something. You are not going to be happy, and it's not going to bring you satisfaction in life. Same thing he said on stage yesterday. He said, if I could suggest a different value that you focus on, it's growth. It's taking what you have learned, taking your opportunities, taking what you've been able to experience, and to share it with other people, and to duplicate yourself over and over and over again. And the cool thing about that, the byproduct, is obviously immense wealth, right? Immense wealth. You grow exponentially when that happens. But think about growth as one of your main values. So here is an invitation I want to give you today. Choose 5 core values, 3 to 5 core values that you're going to live by, and I promise you it'll change your life. I want to give you an example by going over the core values that we hold at Fusion Power. Number 1, we call family first. And the way that we define family first is balance. You're not winning at work if you're not winning at home. Everything that we do should be for our families, for our kids, and for our spouses. It also means to love others. We should treat each other at work the same way that we want to treat our families at home, with love and respect. We should treat our customers the same way that we'd want our parents to be treated if they were signing up with one of our reps to go solar. And then the third one there is that we're all in together. We are a team. We go through the hard together. We go through the good together, but we love and we support one another. Our second core value is to add value. We define that as making an impact. One of the things that I've learned lately is that whether we try to or not, we're going to make an impact one way or another. The fact that you're in this room, you are influencing the people around you. You are here, your presence is going to have some sort of a creation in your life. You're sitting in your chair, you're in your present condition in life exactly because of what you've done intentionally or unintentionally. And that's such an empowering thing to realize that if we are intentional about the decisions we make and the way that we are with the people around us, we can create the situations and the circumstances of our life. So make an impact and help other people. The second one of that, the second point there is to be generous. Life is hard. None of us are perfect. We all need grace. If somebody's struggling, reach out to them, help them. Train them, help them get a close, help them close a recruit. But we need to be generous with what we have. And then the third point on that is the idea that 1 + 1 = 3. My efforts and your efforts combined are going to bring much more value than if I try to go at it by myself. Our third core value is called tenacious grit. Tenacious grit is defined by the relentless pursuit of our goals. We do not quit until we achieve what we want to achieve. We're going to be consistent, we're going to fight, we're going to claw, we're going to adapt, we're going to work our rear ends off until we're able to accomplish those goals. It also means that we face the storm, and a couple people have talked about this. That buffalo herd up in Montana seeing a storm coming in, instead of turning tail and running like the other herds, what do? They put their heads down and they drive through that storm knowing that they're going to come through stronger on the other side of it. And then finally, we define that as being 100% responsible. One of the reasons that I love doing door-to-door for all these years, again, this is my 20th year in the space, I love that I am 100% responsible for my success, and I'm 100% responsible for my failures. I don't need to blame others. I don't need to make excuses. I go out and I make it happen. So, now it's time to make a business plan. A business plan needs to be written out. And for some of you, that makes you want to throw up, the idea of writing out an executive summary with strategy and all that stuff. So I want to simplify things a little bit for you. But make sure that you understand that if it is not written, it will not be followed, and if it is not followed, you cannot be accountable to it, so you will never achieve, okay? You're not going to be able to follow it. Part of that plan, we've gone through the SWOT analysis, right? We've looked at our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, and our threats. We've now taken a look at our value system, and we've come up with 3 core values that are going to determine how we execute our lives. Now, we're ready to actually write this stuff down and make a plan that we're going to follow week by week. If you have never done this before, I'm going to give you, in the spirit of add value, you can go to this URL here, or this QR code, and this is going to bring up a little simple template exercise for you. It's going to allow you to go through and write out your own SWOT analysis. Do it for yourself, do it for your team, do it for your company, do it for your industry. But take a few minutes and go through that. Do this on the flight on the way home. You'll also be able to go through your own values analysis, write down the things that mean the most to you, and then come up with your 3 core values that you want to adhere by. And once you've done that, now we're going to start putting it into numbers. You can select your job role, whether you're a lead setter, whether you're a manager, whether you're a rep, and you're going to start filling out a vision. Okay? That's very easy to do. You just write out, how many bookings do I want to get? What's my cancellation percentage? What's my average system size? And how much do I make on average per kilowatt? Hit calculate, and it's going to give you your number for the year. Maybe. Yeah, it'll come up again at the end. Don't worry about it. So once you have that, you can see what you're going to hit for the year. But we need to reverse engineer that, and we need to figure out how is it that I actually accomplish this. That's great. That's what I want. But how do I actually achieve that? Here's how I do that. I need to measure and know what my weekly production is. This is a sales thing, obviously, so if you're an op, sorry that this part gets boring, but I need sales reps to pay attention to this. If you're going to hit your goals, you need to know what you need to put as your inputs to get your output. Am I right? So number one, if I want to get a close, I need to know how many presentations do I need to give. Am I a 50% closer? Am I a 60% closer? Am I a 30% closer? If I want that number of presentations, how many appointments do I need to have set, knowing that there's going to be a certain number that cancel on me? If I want to have that number of appointments set, how many quality contacts do I need to make? A quality contact is somebody that's going to give me 5 minutes of their time where I can actually go through my full door approach. And if I want to have a certain number of quality contacts, how many regular contacts do I need? And if I'm going to get that number, how often and how much time do I need to spend in my prospecting? If I'm not paying attention to these ratios, then I'm just wandering with my wagon out on the frontier, and I'm going to end up getting caught in a storm, and I'm not going to make it. I need to be very precise to know what it is that I'm working with. I hit calculate there, and it's going to spit out, I know you can't see this, but it's going to spit out a 52-week spreadsheet, formula, recipe that you can follow, and it's going to show you how many hours you need to spend each week in order to hit your goals. This is also developed seasonally, understanding that we start out low in January and we kind of ramp up and go high during the summer, and then it kind of tapers off as we get into the last quarter of the year. But this will show you what it is that you need to hit from every single metrics along the way, that you can follow that recipe every single week. And the most important part of that is it allows you to be accountable to this and put in your number of actual closed. When you do that, it'll calculate and it'll show you what your weekly achievement is from a percentage standpoint. It'll show you what your new gross bookings pace is. And the funnest part, it'll show you what your new annual earnings pace is looking like. This can be very, very motivating as you're able to take a look at that. But this tool is going to allow you to be accountable. And it is so important to have integrity and be accountable to doing the things that you say that you're going to do. You are your word. And when things don't match up, we have something called cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is when we profess something and we say that we value something, we say we're going to do something, and then we do something that's different. And that feeling is going to do one of two things. It's either going to drive us to make changes, to do what we say we're going to do and improve, or it's going to manifest itself in feelings of guilt and shame and depression and anxiety and fear and these negative, horrible feelings that can really cripple us. And if we let those feelings sit with us long enough, what happens? We want to feel better, don't we? So then we start doing things and we start rationalizing, we start making excuses. We start changing our values and we start not adhering to those values, and we start going to things that are going to give us a hit of dopamine or a hit of serotonin, and we turn to alcohol or drugs or cigarettes or pornography or gambling or any other number of vices. But what happens when that dopamine wears off? We're right back to where we were before, and now we feel even worse because we were weak and we gave into something that we knew that we shouldn't have given into. And then what do? We go right back to that vice because we know that it's going to make us feel better again. The sad thing about that is that's how we get into addiction, that's how we get into self-destructive behaviors that ruins our lives and relationships. And everybody in this room, I'm sure, could have an example of somebody that they've seen that have gone through that. Maybe some of you have gone through it yourselves, and many of you may be in that situation right now. I want to extend empathy towards you because it is hard. Being a human is hard. We go through difficult things, and we have strong emotions. And the only way out of that is to surround ourselves with a good team, both at work, at home, and friends. And we have to be able to talk about the difficult things that we go through. Otherwise, we get caught in our own emotions, and we're going to deal with it in a way that is not going to help us to get back to the plan and back to the track that we want to be on. If we're on the wrong trail, if we're hitched to the wrong wagon, we're going the wrong way in the first place. That goes for work and that goes for life. If we don't have values that are driving us and driving our decisions, we're going to be a boat driven with the wind and tossed. So we have to have good people in our lives to give us direction. We also need to put God in our lives. He's created us. The creator of heavens and earth and the galaxies created each one of us with an incredible potential to do amazing things. Don't ever sell yourself short or ever think that you are not meant to do something incredible in this life, because you have so much more in you. You have incredible potential, but it requires discipline. It requires commitment to make it happen. It requires change, but we can do it. I'm going to close with a story. In the summer of 1778, General George Washington was at an all-time low, and they had just gone through Valley Forge. The winter was terrible. They had all sorts of people desert. Many people died. These poor soldiers were living in rags, eating their horses' saddles. There was no money getting paid from the Continental Congress, and everybody was done. There was just no confidence in the cause. Well, in the summer, there was going to be this big battle at Monmouth, New Jersey. Washington somehow recruited enough people where he had several thousand troops, but they were going up against the world's largest and most powerful army. And whoever won this battle was going to probably end up winning the war. And so Washington, he goes to a second in line, General Charles Lee, and he says, I want you to lead this battle, and I want you to get us the victory. Lee thought that it was impossible, so he basically just said, no, I'm not going to do it. Washington gives command to Lafayette. Lee gets jealous, and so Washington gives the command back to Lee and says, make this happen. The night before the battle, Lee's in his tent, and his captains are waiting outside, waiting for the strategy, waiting for direction. How are we going to attack the enemy? How are we going to win this battle? And he never comes out. At 4 a.m., the orders were given that the first groups leave, and they start scouting and prepping for battle. Lee and his men arriving late to the battlefield, and it is utter chaos. No direction, no strategy, and everybody is afraid. So they begin to retreat. And Lee sees everybody retreating. He says, yeah, we got to get out of here. We're gonna lose. Everybody, let's go. And so he calls for the retreat. At this time, Washington and his brigade come riding up in the rear. And Washington sees the troops backing up. He gallops up on his horse, and he goes to General Lee, and he says, what is the meaning of this? I gave you command to win this battle. And he rides up to Lee, and he says, you coward. He jumps on his horse and rides into battle, leading his men. It's the longest battle of the entire Revolutionary War. Cannon fire back and forth all day long. But by nightfall, with hundreds dead on both sides of the line, the British turn and they walk away. The Americans are able to claim that as a victory, and with that victory, Washington cements himself as one of the greatest leaders in America, and it completely turns the tide of the war. He gets more recruits, the army grows, the Congress now has confidence that Washington can actually lead them to victory, and they begin to win and win and win until they end up winning the entire war. Now, why do I share that story? I want to illustrate two men. One man who did not have a business plan. He did not have a plan that he followed. He did not have core principles that he followed, and it led to his troops being confused and retreating, and they died on the prairie on that way to the gold rush. We have, on the other hand, a man who was bold, who knew what his values were and knew what his plans were, and he executed, and he made it happen. If you will hitch your wagons to the right team, if you will do a SWOT analysis and take a look at what are your personal assets and your personal liabilities, if you will commit to core values, and if you will write out a business plan that you will be accountable to week after week after week, it is impossible for you to fail. Thank you for your time today.
And I wish, and I wish, and I wish.